I don't know about you guys, but ever since I entered the grown-up world, working and with real responsibilities, I feel like 24 hours are not enough to do everything that I need and want to do in one day. There's just not enough time to do everything. When we were kids, just one day seemed way too long. Now, 1 week goes by without even realizing it. As a result, we might miss on so many things, on new things that we want to try, on our hobbies, and we might realize it only when it's too late. I used to feel that way every day a few years back. I had a 9-to-5 job, I would feel tired after going home, and even though I told myself every day that I would work out or read a book, I would end up either watching TV or going out. Years went by just like that, and then at one point, I don't actually know what triggered it, but I started feeling like my days were being wasted. Because that thought was so ominous, I started working on fixing this, but really seriously this time. I started being smarter during my working hours. Instead of spending time procrastinating difficult tasks, I started little by little working on them. I started using my time after work to do the things that I had wanted to do, using the weekends to enjoy my hobbies, along with relaxing and other things. I'm not saying that it was easy to start doing this, but what I want to say is that once I started, it became very easy and actually enjoyable to continue doing it. Today, I want to share with you 6 things that I have found can make us really productive during the day. 1. Create a smart routine. Be it at work or out of work, we want to make sure that what we do it smart instead of hard. Although smart and hard is the best combination. But we also want to fit in some hours of play and or learn after we're done with work. For both, we can create a routine, a smart routine that we can stick with. At work, we can fix the hours that we work on a specific task, the minutes that we dedicate to writing emails, the time spent in meetings, the time that we spend with our colleagues. Once we allocate the 7 or 8 working hours that we have in one day to every task that we have to handle during the day, it becomes as easy as respecting an itinerary that's been set by a higher authority, the smart you. There's also the Pareto principle, otherwise known as the 80-20 rule, which says that 80% of our output comes from 20% of our inputs. In this case, 80% of our results at work in a specific project or day-to-day comes from 20% of our work in the project or in our daily tasks. By working smart, we can put in the necessary 20% of our efforts in only a few hours of uninterrupted, focused, deep work, instead of spending the entire day to get that 20% by the end of it. What about after work? Since the pandemic started, I have been working from home every day. This tends to make separating work and life after work harder. But I set a routine for both. I usually stop working at around 6:30, and then I take a break of 30 minutes up to 1 hour, depending on how tired I am after work. A break consists of eating some fruit while watching an episode of the series that I'm currently watching. After the break, 3 times a week I work out, the rest I go out. Then I allocate an hour or so to cooking for the next day. I read for an hour. I dedicate some time to spending with my sisters with whom I live. This is the typical day when my priorities are work, working out, and reading. Now, for example, I am learning Finnish. I'm using Duolingo for that, so I work on it exactly after my break every day. I have been learning Finnish for 100 plus days now, and I am sure that I wouldn't have stuck with it if I hadn't picked a very specific time during my day to work on it. Of course, it takes some time to get used to following a routine during our day, but first of all, it doesn't take that long to get used to. And second, once we get used to it, it becomes natural and even enjoyable sticking to it. This is also one way to remove the need for us to make many decisions during the day. Making too many decisions drains our energy, and making certain things into habits and incorporating them in our daily life creates space, mental, emotional, for other new things that we might want to try, and we won't feel tired and burnt out when an opportunity to try something presents itself before us. 2. Feeling like it versus doing it. When I started putting out these videos, I had been thinking about it for a while, but I had put it off for a number of reasons. The main reason was that I didn't feel like it. I wasn't used to making videos and sharing them online for the entire world to see. Just the thought that my videos would be out there terrorized me. So I would say, I just don't feel like it. Then, after thinking about it for some time, it came to a point that I thought to myself, I'm either going to start now or I'll simply stop thinking about it. Knowing that I wasn't going to stop thinking about it and wanting to do it, I sat down and prepared for my first video. A lot of things, even simple ones, are sometimes very easy to be procrastinated just because we don't feel like doing them. A phone call that we have to make, but it's a bit uncomfortable. We don't feel like doing it. Telling our manager about a problem we might be having, but because it's personal, we don't feel like doing that. No matter what, we very often find ourselves in that place of wanting to do it, of needing to do it, but of not feeling like doing it. When you find yourself in that I don't feel like it place, the thing to do is snap out of it. Don't think about why you don't want to do it and think I have to do it. Simpler said than done, but it does work like that. What stops us from actually doing something is only inside our head. What does I don't feel like doing it even mean? It's about doing the thing. It's not about how we feel about it. You might think, I have to call my bank, but today I don't want to, so it's okay. I will ultimately call them. The thing with I will ultimately do it might cause more problems than doing it right away. And you might even be aware of this, but you're just not fed up with it yet. I am sure for those of you who used to do this, as did I, there came one day when you were so sick of having to do something but doing it at the last moment or not doing it at all. Some things suffer because of the I don't feel like it attitude. For example, if you're applying for a job or if you have to call your bank but you don't and they keep calling you. Some other things will simply not get done at all because a long time has passed and you've moved on to something else. You have to snap out of I just don't feel like it and just do it.
Do it! Just do it!
3. Start with small habits. I have recently learned about the tiny habits method developed by social scientist B.J. Fogg. There is a book about it called Tiny Habits, The Small Changes That Change Everything, and also a free 5-day program where you can enroll to build the habits that you want in a quick and easy way. The essence of tiny habits is this. You choose a behavior that you want to have. If it's not tiny and straightforward, then you find the tiniest component of it. Then you relate the tiny behavior or its smallest component to something specific in your day. For example, recently I decided I wanted to listen to podcasts more. The behavior I wanted to have is listen to podcasts. So it's pretty straightforward, which means I didn't need to divide it into smaller components. And then I related it to the time when I work out, which makes it easy to follow through. We can use the same method for anything that we want to make a habit out of. If, let's say, you want to work on your drawing after work, you could decide to, for example, start with after dinner for 30 minutes. You can learn and practice the basics and keep going from there. But you have to be consistent about it. You finish dinner tonight, right after, you take your piece of paper and pencil and practice for 30 minutes, avoiding any kind of distraction. One thing that can help us with this is setting things in our calendar. If you want to work on your drawing for 30 minutes every day during the week, then set an event after dinner on your calendar with a duration of 30 minutes. You will only need to do this for a short period of time. It will then become a habit and you won't need to keep adding it on your calendar anymore. This brings me to the 4th one. Avoid distractions. When you start working on your daily tasks or a project or writing a piece of content, then keeping social media tabs, email, client applications, or any other application that is not work related can decrease your productivity tremendously. These years, with the many applications that have come out, our attention span has decreased a lot. A couple of decades ago, there were only a few things that we could do to get distracted from work. Games like Hearts or Minesweeper. Now, social media like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok can make us spend hours on end scrolling through them. And we all know how when we're doing deep work and we get an email that requires a reply from us, it can take our focus away from what we were doing, and it can take a little bit of time to write our reply and then get back to our work. I used to always keep my email application back in the day, but it was only because I was in a crazy work environment where an immediate reply was expected of me. But it was very easy to notice how damaging it was to my ability to focus on my work. For this reason, next time you sit down to work, close every tab that could grab your attention and the email client that you use. Outlook, Thunderbird, Apple Mail. Just try it and see how helpful it can be to allow you to focus completely on the task that you want to work on. 5. Don't beat yourself up. If you want to increase your productivity and decide to take matters into your own hands, I have found that the 4 things that I just mentioned work like a miracle. But if it happens that you forget to do one thing today, another thing tomorrow, or if you go off the rails one day, or even for a while, do not beat yourself up. Nobody really wants to run in the morning in the beginning. But after you get used to it, then even if it is still not entirely easy, you still do it. There is usually a motive that pushes us through the difficulties and troubles that we might encounter when we employ a new habit in our routine or an entirely new routine in our life. We are all very good at realizing the reason why we want to change something in our behavior or adopt something new. But we are not always good at reminding ourselves of it. When we need to remind ourselves the most about the reason why we have to go on an early run is the day we feel like it is very difficult to leave our bed because it's cold outside. But there are days when we get sick or when there's a storm outside. And that is why it is completely okay and acceptable that sometimes we skip on our early run. Being sick and a stormy weather are just metaphors for any other situation in our daily lives. If, for example, one day at work there are many meetings that we have to attend, of course, it's not possible for us to stick to our routine of spending hours working. If another day we want to spend the entire day inside without doing much, then it's okay not to go out. The issue with not sticking to our routine is not the fact that we don't stick to it for whatever reason, but the duration in time for which we don't stick to it. It could happen that you have to go on a mission for 1 month and your routine is out of the window for the entire period of that 1 month. Now, when you get back, you can still go back to your routine. It's the same thing as our character traits that become a representative of us only because we do it all the time and not because we do it for a day, a week, or a month. And the 6th and last thing that I want to add is be in the moment. In the beginning, once we have set out a routine for our day, it could feel a little overwhelming. As a result, when we're working on one item of our routine, we might start thinking about the next thing that we have to do. We could be working on something and our mind goes to the meeting that we have in the afternoon. Or we could be taking a break after work and all of a sudden we feel overwhelmed by the boxing class that we have to go to later. No matter what you are in the process of doing, try to forget about everything else that came before and whatever comes after. Try to be in the moment, a moment of producing, creating, reading, listening, watching, relaxing. It's only by being present in every moment and everything that we do that our productivity goes up. There is no way that we create a routine for our day and then for every single item in this list we are worrying about the next thing that we have to do, something wrong that we said during the meeting, or just daydreaming. And we become more productive by the end of the day. The risk is that we do all this and then at the end of the day, when we see that we didn't do much really, we think, see, this doesn't work. So try to be in the moment as much as you can. This list of 6 things can make us insanely productive and we can observe it even in just the span of 1 day. I would love to know your routine, whether you have things or routines that you have found make you more productive. Let me know in the comments below and I will see you next week.